Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the golden age of orchestral music and number 4 in our sub-series, Descriptive Music, 1930 to 1939. And we're not slowing down because the modern symphony orchestra was in its glory in the early decades of the 20th century, and some of the music written here displays that very, very eloquently. Actually, all of it does. It really is quite marvelous. So let's begin. In 1930, with William Grant Still, his tone poem, Africa. An absolutely lovely and wonderful work that gets no attention whatsoever. It's ridiculous. But I think it's very important because Still was one of those composers who fused African-American music, not from Africa specifically, but jazz specifically, and popular music idioms with classical orchestra, classical orchestration. He was a very well-trained musician and a very talented guy, and someone whose music deserves tons more attention than it gets. So, yeah, absolutely a major work. Nearly half an hour long. It's brilliant, and you should give it a chance to soak in if you have the time. You're going to love it. You really are. Number 2, Villa-Lobos, Bachianas, Brasileiras, number 2, also from 1930. And remember the finale. It's a choo-choo. The little train of the Caipira, whatever it's called. Da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Oh, it's so wonderful. What a great tune. But these pieces are, with their fusion of Brazilian folk music and Bachian modalities, counterpoint and formal approaches, they're just sui generis. Brilliant works. And what category do they fit in? They are descriptive. You know, they're partly programmatic, partly descriptive of Baroque music, and they're indescribably brilliant. Absolutely fabulous pieces, and Villa-Lobos deserves as much attention. He's like Still. You know, he's one of those composers, gosh, he deserves so much more attention than he gets. But people don't have time, you know? I mean, people don't do it. I don't understand why. I just don't get it. It's as rewarding and fabulous as any music anybody wrote. Grofé, the Grand Canyon Suite. Yeah, I mean, this is another one of those sort of fusion pieces. It has jazzy bits. Grofé was a band arranger, a popular music guy. And I think the emergence of the classical orchestra into the popular music realm, or into these sort of fusion pieces, was a very important and wonderful moment. And it really happened in the 1930s, the late 20s with Gershwin, but the 30s is when it really got going. And the interesting thing about this, of course, is that music history, as she is taught, and thunk, it often talks about this was the important history of music. You went through this, and now we're into the second Viennese school, and serial music, and then the avant-garde from the Second World War, the post-war period. That's not what was happening. I mean, that was one thing that was happening, but it was the least important of all the things that were happening in the history of music. I got a really nasty comment from a composer who said that, I knew nothing about the avant-garde and all the fabulous things they did and all the wonderful things they were working on and how essential they are to everybody who came after, all this crap. And all I could think was, you're operating from a warped view of music history. There was so much more fruitful orchestral activity going on at this level, the Still, Villa-Lobos, Ferdi, Grofé level, than there was in this minuscule ivory tower avant-garde little patchouli of people there. I mean, they wanted to be the most important, and they wrote the history books. So they made themselves the most important, but they weren't. And they weren't what was getting listened to. And right now what's happening is that there's a lot of revisionism going on, good revisionism, that is at least in terms of music availability and listening, as the great historical sifting process, is deciding what the classics really are. And there will be some compositions that were part of that school, the serial school, the avant-garde. Yeah, absolutely, because there was some great music being written. But there's a lot of other great music being written in different styles as well. And we're starting to realize that. And so the picture is slowly shifting, and it's wonderful to see it happening. I wish I could tune in 100 or 200 years to see what we consider to be the most important and greatest things that happened in this period. I have a few suggestions in this particular talk, and we'll see. Vaughan Williams, Job. Oh, wow. Possibly his orchestral masterpiece. It's an extraordinary work. It's a ballet, but it's also a tone poem, and it's a full evening, half evening's length, 50 minutes, 45, 50 minutes. One of the most beautiful scores of the 20th century. Absolutely fantastic. I've talked about it endlessly, and it was from 1931. We're still in 1930-31. It was a very fruitful decade, the 30s. And then another ballet, which deserves plenty of attention and gets none, of course, is Szymanowski's Harnasi, which he worked on for about 5 years, from the mid-20s up until 1931 when he completed it. It's a choral ballet based on Polish folk music. It's quite similar in a lot of, it's sort of rhythmic verve and character to Carmina Burana, and it should be just as popular. It's just wonderful. I mean, it really is wonderful that way. Then we've got, Barber, the School for Scandal Overture, his first orchestral work, his first major work of any kind. Also dates from 1931. It's a terrific piece. It has beautiful melodies. It's exquisitely scored. Really first class. He was a first class talent. He wrote it as his graduation thesis, I believe, from the Curtis Institute in Philadelphia. And now we come to some of the most important music of the decade. And there are a few examples of such. First, Max Steiner's King Kong, 1933, the birth of the Hollywood film score. It really was. There had been film scores before, of course. Shostakovich's and things like that. Yes, there were. But King Kong was one of the all-time, it still is one of the all-time great film scores, classic work that defined a new genre, that of the film score, which is one of the most important uses of the orchestra, the modern symphony orchestra in the 20th century. And to deny these works classical status just because they're not symphonies or tone poems or whatever, it's petulance. That's all it is. It has nothing to do with musical quality or significance. And one of the great things that's been happening in the past few decades has been the recovery and recording of all of these classic film scores, so the publication of the music, so that people can actually create suites and tone poems of their own and use it in ways that, its importance richly merits. So King Kong is a major one. Prokofiev's ballet, Romeo and Juliet, 1935. King Kong was 33. 1935, oh my goodness, we all love Romeo and Juliet, don't we? Whether you do the whole ballet, whether you do the suites, it is descriptive music of the best kind. Absolutely phenomenally gorgeous. One of the last masterpieces of the classical Russian ballet tradition. That is the big 3 or 4 act, full-length ballets. The modern ballet, modern dance is shorter. Usually there's one act or a single piece or tone poem-y type things that you dance to, or abstract orchestral pieces that you dance to. But Romeo and Juliet was written for the Bolshoi, which rejected it as undanceable. It was premiered in Brno, Czech Republic, Czechia. And now, of course, it's standard repertoire. I mean, the Bolshoi heard it and got their hands on it and went, uh-oh, we goofed. So there you go. Then Revueltas, his film score Redes, Nets, which Naxos re-released recently. A beautiful, beautiful recording of the original film. It's a socialist protest film about the ill treatment of fishermen in a Mexican fishing village. But the music is marvelous. It was arranged into a couple of suites, or one suite, which you can get, or you can get the complete film score. Either way, Revueltas, as you know, was a tragic figure. He was alcoholic, he was gay, he was miserable. He died terribly young. He was blisteringly talented. and wrote in a completely original idiom that was an amalgamation of his classical training and Mexican folk and popular music idioms, all of which is abundantly clear in this wonderful, wonderful film score. It's just a great piece of music. Copland, El Salón, Mexico. Let's stay in Mexico for a minute, because the 30s was, in a way, I mean, dealing with Villa-Lobos and all that, the birth of Latin American influence in the classical symphony orchestra. There were a bunch of composers. There was Chavez. There were others. I mean, they were starting to make their mark in orchestral writing. The Sinfonia India by Chavez dates from the same period, by the way. So yeah, and the influence of that kind of folk music and of the new world into the body of the old world. Well, it's happening. It's happening, and it's happening in the 1930s quite vividly. El Salón Mexico is wonderful. It's so much fun. It's so hard to play. Oh my God, it's difficult. The whole piece needs to be rebarred, frankly, because it's all in a fast. Well, the slow parts are slow, but the quick parts are all in 8, and that 8 can be 6+2 or 3+2 plus 3+2 or 4. Oh, it's really, really hard. You have to count eighth notes, lots and lots of eighth notes. Da 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 chan chan boom cha 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 cha. Everyone gets it a little wrong. Then we've got what's this? Oh, Enescu. Yes, his Orchestral Suite Number 3. That's from 1938. Mexico is 1936. Oh, it's a beautiful work, his third orchestral suite, and it's all about children playing and the moon hanging out, and each movement is programmatic and very, very beautiful, very, very intricately scored, with some gorgeous, gorgeous moments. It's a work that you really should get to know. He wrote 3 orchestral suites, by the way, and this is the last and the most refined, and it's really exquisite. It's something very special. And last but not least, Korngold, The Adventures of Robin Hood, 1938, another Hollywood classic, a major, major film score that everybody knows. We all know the big tune, the march of Robin Hood and his merry men, and it's just delightful, and Robin and Marion, and the archery tournament. But then, oh gosh, it's a masterpiece by one of the great child prodigies that ever lived, somebody whose music married the vividness of Hollywood with late romantic, decadent, old world Vienna. Ah, gosh, it's just got everything going for it. And so you see in this list, film music is starting to make its appearance. It's descriptive in the best possible way, and we're going to be exploring a lot more of it as these lists continue, because it's one way in which the orchestra found a new and extremely vital home in the new world and the old, and a new purpose in life, or say a reinterpretation of an old purpose, because of course film scores were the natural descendants of the incidental music from the large theater orchestras in all of the major cities that existed at the time, before mechanical reproduction of sound and image. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.